So Tat, what is SSLD?
Okay, so SSLD stands for Strategies and Skills Learning and Development.
Okay.
It was a name that came out back in 2005.
Okay.
So now I think SSLD is better known in its acronym form
Okay.
than the full form. And it is actually not really important that you know what it stands for, because more and more people are just saying SSLD, and SSLD has actually moved into so many fields now.
Okay.
So to some people, they don't even bother, right, to find out what it stands for. When you're talking about, other acronyms that people are now very familiar with, like IBM,
yes.
People don't even worry, So, so that is the name, right? But what SSLD is, I have to tell you this, Monica, we are changing the definition of that.
Okay.
Because the system is all continuously growing,
okay.
We are constantly refining it, and it is moving into new areas of human service as we speak in different areas. So a good way of looking at SSLD is basically an intervention system for people who are coming from social work or psychology. But then for people who do not come from this discipline, it is better understood as a learning system.
Okay.
Basically what it is to help people learn and develop new strategies and skills to address the challenges in life. And the basic idea behind this is in SSLD, we believe most human problems are actually problems related to unmet human needs, meaning we have a problem because some of our needs as human beings are not being effectively met. Okay. And what SSLD does is to help us learn and develop strategies and skills so that those needs are being met. And that is a general purpose kind of statement.
Okay.
But what it actually is, right, is a system for translating our problems and issues into an SSLD understanding,
okay.
And then we will design the strategies and skills to be learned,
okay.
Right? And then we will go ahead and assist people to master those strategies and skills,
okay.
And then they will be better able to address their needs. So that is very abstract, very generic, right?
Okay.
So let me give you an example.
Please.
Right? So the easiest example that we found from experience is the situation of addiction.
Okay.
Okay. So someone is addicted to alcohol, gambling, heroin, the internet,
their cell phone.
Internet, there you go, exactly,
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So whatever you're addicted to,
okay.
right? So it becomes a problem, right?
Right.
When some of your needs are not being met.
Right.
It is not a problem with I when you're addicted to something,
okay.
Right? It is not usually considered an addiction,
okay.
If all your other needs are met, right? People are okay with you spending a lot of time doing whatever, the time it becomes a problem is maybe you're not going to work,
yes.
Right? You're not finishing your assignments, you're not meeting your deadlines,
right.
You're missing out on significant social events, your family members,
right.
your girlfriend, boyfriend is
right.
complaining, then you have a problem. Right.
So can I ask you a question, Tat? So when you're talking about needs not being met, if you take the cell phone example, someone who's addicted to using their cell phone, what do you mean by their needs not being met?
So, all right, this is actually a very good question, because people were addicted or they sort of hold on to their cell phone because certain needs are being met. Right?
Okay.
So you feel connected, you feel that you're connected with people.
Yeah.
For some people, they do not use the cell phone for connection, they use the cell phone for data or information.
Right.
For some people, they just outright bored and they just want to kill time doing this. For some people, this is the way for them to access information. For some of the people, this is actually how they work.
That's right.
Right? Mm-hmm. So we cannot say that everyone who is addicted to the cell phone is addicted to the cell phone, because to some of these people, this behavior is more functional.
That's right.
To some of these people, this behavior is less functional, or in some cases dysfunctional. Say, for example, I spend so much time looking at my cell phone, and I'm like ignoring my friend, and I'm like not completing the task that I'm supposed to.
Okay.
Then it becomes a problem.
Right.
So basically, what we're trying to look at is that the behavior itself usually serves a function, and the function is certain needs are being addressed. And some people do things like, look at the cell phone because they derive a sense of control, which they do not otherwise have in other aspects of their life.
Right.
Some people may be like constantly looking at the cell phone because they're very afraid of like social isolation. They want to stay connected.
Yeah.
So they have a need for connection and affiliation.
Okay.
Right. Some people staying on the cell phone so that they're escaping from the like more terrible or unbearable state of like feeling bored and like not having anything to do.
Right.
So to some people, right, that actually provides them with an occupation, right, a structure and an order in their lives. So you may have like different people who are like equally addicted to the cell phone, but the needs that they're trying to address would be different. Yeah. Okay. So, and then the question is, right, so if people are addicted and they do not want to get addicted, right, can we help them get out of this? This is what SSLD does. So step one is to find out what needs are being addressed. Right? So what are you trying to do when you are like either looking at your cell phone, or when you're drinking heavily, or when you're like shooting heroin into your system, or when you go to the casino and gamble whenever you can. Okay. So these addictive behaviors, right, in our opinion, they all serve some function. So some people derive sensory satisfaction. Right. Some people derive some pleasurable experience, stimulation from it. Okay. In everyday English, we talk about people getting a kick out of it, right? So, and then some people do it to escape from pain. Some people do it to as a pain control strategy. Some people do this to gain acceptance into social circles, and that gives them a sense of affiliation and identity. Some people do this, right, in order to, like in the cell phone example, to stay connected. So the need is actually interpersonal. The need is like affiliation and attachment and connection. So when you have different people using the same method, it can be drinking or doing drugs or gambling or internet or the cell phone, they're trying to address different needs. And this is why intervention systems or methods that use a standardized approach to work with everyone usually do not work well, because only some people can be helped because their needs might be addressed, and then some other people are not helped. So in the SSLD system, we take a very different approach. We look at what your specific personal needs are and what are you doing this for. Okay, so this is the next question I was going to ask you was what makes this approach different from other approaches? You're talking about standardized approaches. Yep. So what SSLD does, right, which is different than what other people do, right, is one, we focus on needs. Okay. Two, we recognize the difference. So the same behavior, like drinking or being hooked onto your cell phone or doing drugs, has different function for different people. Okay. So I drink because I want to socialize, or I drink because I want to ease my pain, or I drink as a strategy for stress management. Or I drink so that I get less inhibited, and then I'll be able to take on tasks that I would otherwise not be able to. So, or manage social anxiety at a party. Yeah, exactly. So people have different needs that they're addressing with the same behavior. So the intervention or the treatment or the solution should also be different. So if you're drinking in order to overcome social anxiety. So what would make you less reliant on alcohol is to help you develop alternate strategies to cope with social anxiety.
Ah,
Right? So if you
okay.
learn social skills, you know how to present yourself, you know how to start a conversation, how to develop a rewarding conversation or connection with other people.
Mhm.
You do not need to rely on alcohol to release your social anxiety. And as you know, like people who use alcohol to release their social anxiety
Right.
might do well initially in that they would be able to make an effort that they otherwise wouldn't. But after that point, right, if you still do not know how to start a conversation, how to ask open-ended questions, how to express interest in the other person's story, how to draw similarities like between your experience and the other person, how to show appreciation and give positive feedback, you would still not be able to meet your social needs, right? Your interpersonal needs. And in the SSLD system, this is what we do, right? We will deal with your social anxiety with bacon, all right? So drinking is one of the many ways to reduce your social anxiety. But are there other ways to reduce your social anxiety, right? So we can help people to use like mental rehearsal, muscular relaxation, rhythmic breathing, and all this to help them go through the first step, right? And then when they started the conversation, we can actually help them to practice like opening lines or pick up lines, right? And then they can start talking to people in an effective manner. And then we'll use simulation and role play to help them learn how to actually manage a conversation. So you can see that like this solution would only work for people who drink to reduce social anxiety. This method will not work for people who drink to reduce pain. So we're working with another person who's also a drinker, but like this person wants to be like easing pain from, say, for example, childhood abuse, right, from his or her parents. Then we need another method, right? So this person need to learn new strategies to deal with psychic pain.
So this is, sorry to interrupt, so you're saying that this can be very individualized to each person, and that's based on the needs that each individual has for their or for whatever the issue is.
Exactly.
I see,
Right? So this is why we do not have like one solution for one problem, right? So when you have a drinking problem, we do not have like a drinking solution, right? We have to understand what needs are you trying to address, and then we can come up with a solution, right?
So the next question I have is, how can I, as a practitioner, start to learn this approach?
Okay, there are actually multiple ways to learn it. Like you're doing one of that. Like you know, it's like talk to someone who knows about this, or learn from that person. Well, actually, more often people are actually taking courses in SSLD. We have been running SSLD training programs, so I know like hundreds of times in the last while. So we have like face-to-face courses like offered by educational institutions like universities, colleges. We also do professional development and on-the-job training or in-service training for employers. We have like now more recently moved on to online education. We now actually have like an online course on SSLD on the Coursera platform.
Sorry, what platform is that?
Coursera.
Coursera.
Yes.
I have never heard about this. Can you tell me about Coursera?
Oh yeah, of course. So Coursera is actually one of the world's like largest online education platform, like carrying hundreds of courses. They have like I think about 30 million learners now, right? Our first Coursera course, which is called a MOOC, which stands for Massive Open Online Course, has now got over 100,000 visits and 27,000 students from 188 countries in the world. So you can, if you take that course, which is primarily focused on interpersonal relationship and intimacy, you will be able to learn the basic concepts of SSLD. We are now creating another one.
Okay.
Right? Again, using the same SSLD ideas and concepts and principles and methods for people who are carers, for people living with dementia. So we are planning to go on creating more and more online courses because they're more effective, they reach more people, and there's also open access. So there is practically no barrier. We actually have people from developing countries. All you need is access to a public library and access to the internet, and then you can be learning. But for people who are living in big cities, right, like Toronto and some other cities where we actually have face-to-face courses, or obviously you can be taking a course to learn SSLD. And we also have a growing number of publications. We have got a basic text in SSLD published by the University of Toronto Press, which is titled Learning to Change Lives.
Learning to Change Lives.
Yeah, and you can, I think it is a good place to start if you use English. The book actually has been translated into Chinese as well, and it just was released a couple of years ago. And we are also building a website. You go onto our website, which is actually easy. We have been doing quite well online. So now all you need to do is just to Google SSLD. That usually will take you to our official website. And our official website has already got pages in English, Chinese, Spanish, French, and we are going to add actually Arabic very soon. And if you're interested, you can also help us make it available in other languages. Yes. So those are some of the ways to learn about SSLD. We have also published several manuals in different areas of practice. We have a manual on working with immigrants and refugees. We have a manual for dementia care. We have a manual for managing sexuality and intimacy behavior among people who are older, and then we are also developing a manual for sleep-related issues and insomnia, right, which we call Sleep Well 2.0. So we have multiple manuals that have been developed, and for people with specific interests, you can be picking up one of those. And many of our publications are available in English, but some of them are available in other languages. We have manuals, for example, in Chinese. One of our earlier papers on the topic is actually related to mental health, and it was available both in English and Korean. Right? So we're working with a global audience, so we're trying to make the content available in multiple languages.
So I'm hearing two things from you. One of them is that it applies to various issues. You've talked about everything from dementia and Alzheimer's to gambling. And the other thing is that and correct me if I'm wrong, are you saying that you need not be a practitioner to learn this approach and apply it in your life?
Oh yeah, we actually designed a program for multiple audiences, right? So obviously we have the professional practitioners in mind, but that has in the last 5 to 10 years expanded to include many professionals from a wide range of fields. Some of the more unlikely professions that I can mention as an example too. So we provide training, for example, to people in wealth management, financial planning. We have also been using the method in corporate training, training executives. We also used the method to deal with conflict resolution. Here in Canada, in the last couple of years, one of the major applications of the SSLD model is to work with immigrants and refugees from Syria, using the approach to organize community, to develop leadership within the community so that the community will become increasingly capable of addressing and resolving its own issues. So we do have like a long list of applications, and so that is like for the professional practitioners, right?
Yeah.
We also have like programs that are designed primarily for self-help. So one example that I think is now searchable online is a little booklet developed by two of our team members who both are actually graduates from the same program that you took years ago. Shalin Hu and Hannah Kim published a little book on breakup. So it is like the breakup self-help book, right? Which I believe is available from Amazon.
Okay.
So we do have SSLD programs that are designed for individuals to help themselves. So one of the things that I personally believe is the best way to learn SSLD is to apply it to your own life.
Wow.
If you find that you're benefiting from it, then you know that makes you feel better and more confident that you're using it like with other people.
So I'm curious now, how could I start to apply this to my life? What is one step? You talk about needs, what needs are being addressed. How would I go about looking at maybe something problematic for me and what are the needs being addressed? How do I start to figure that out?
Well, I think there are like multiple ways to do it. Like the most common starting point is when someone experiences a problem.
Okay.
So say, for example, I'm experiencing some problem with my love life, relationship.
Okay.
That is actually quite common.
Yes.
And then you go, okay, how can SSLD help me, right, improve on my relationship?
Right.
If you did that, then you see how it worked, right? Some people use it to deal with personal emotional challenges like depression.
Yes.
Right. We have mentioned addiction as an example, so that it's also something that like people can be applying the system and see, does it work for me, right? So we actually have like some pretty encouraging experience in the area of addiction, addictive behavior. So some people were significantly helped when they use the SSLD model to try to improve their sleep.
Yes.
We actually have a research paper published in that area.
Okay.
And then we have talked about dementia. So step one is you try to learn the basic principles to see if it can help you.
Okay.
I mentioned this like massive open online course on relationship.
Yep.
We have actually got like a lot of people, right? We have got like tens of thousands of people who have taken this course, but we also have like hundreds of people giving us feedback, telling us how it has changed their lives.
Wow.
So these are clear examples that like you can learn the system first by applying the concepts and the methods and principles to your own life. And when you get better, right, when you feel that you're significantly helped, right, you can learn to master the skills at a high level, and then you can be helping others. Actually, after launching the first like online course, we have people from different parts of the world. Like we have someone from Mexico coming to us. We have someone from Italy, telling us that model has like helped him significantly with his work and he wanted to like learn more about it. So that is the kind of experience that we have, and I certainly believe that if you can use it with your own life first, that is actually the best starting point.
It sounds very empowering because it's taking the power back to yourself and being able to help yourself.
Well, thank you for saying that. Like, well, one of the things that I really feel is that like we actually designed SSLD to be inherently empowering. But because the thinking behind it is very simple. You have a problem. We do not call it a problem. We want to discover what lies beneath the problem. And usually what we find is like unmet needs. Then you learn new skills and strategies to address this unmet needs. And then you become more effective doing so. So by learning new strategies, new skills, you're expanding your own repertoire of skills, your own range of options. And that is inherently empowering because you will not feel helpless, you do not feel pathologized. You, instead of having a problem, you're having needs that you wish to address, right? Instead of being treated, right, by some like outside authority or expert. You're learning, you're developing skills.
Yeah, it's giving the power back to yourself, and it's not pathologizing. When you're looking at needs, everybody has basic unmet needs.
Yes.
So it applies to just understanding that you have basic needs and maybe they're not being met by a certain approach, and that there are alternative approaches which you can learn, which is wonderful.
Exactly.
Yes. Wow. It's refreshing actually, because it puts the power back in you, which is great. Yeah. Tat, thank you. This really helped a lot.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
Thank you so much.